Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion is a Zelda-like action-adventure game that was developed by the very small indie team Snoozy Kazoo. The game was released on April 22nd of 2021 and received mixed but mostly positive reviews. In this game you play as Turnip Boy, a both adorable and strange protagonist that quite simply refuses to pay the property taxes on his greenhouse home. He also seems to shred any documents he gets his little turnip hands on. But Mayor Onion wants those taxes paid, so as penance for his crimes, Turnip Boy is forced to do the Mayor Onion's bidding. And that's the gist of it, really. We're going to be going through the entire game and discussing everything from the gameplay, the story, the puzzle designs, characters, boss fights, humor, and more, and speculating on what was done well and what could have been done better. So obviously from this point forward there will be spoilers on pretty much all aspects of this game. If you haven't played this game already, I would suggest doing so before watching this video in its entirety. It is an overall fun game, albeit very short. As soon as we press the Start Game button, we are immediately confronted with a document stating that Turnip Boy owes an enormous amount of money for his greenhouse property taxes. The only logical solution, and our only option really, is to rip it up. Now that's a great way to start a game. Screw the man, right off the bat. But Mayor Onion knows what we did. He accuses Turnip Boy of tax evasion and tells us that we are now his personal assistant and we must take care of a bunch of animals in his nearby town hall and bring back a bag of fertilizer as proof. And we're off. I say this all the time, but I love when a game just lets you off the leash very quickly. It sucks when you're stuck in seemingly endless cutscenes and dialogue boxes, and all you want to do is just play the game. So I commend the very short intro. Our very first action with our newfound freedom to explore, stealing a watering can from Old Man Lemon. And after figuring out how to use it, I see a green patch that stands out, so we sprinkle some water on it and grow a lovely little flower. The gameplay mechanics are pretty simplistic, but I do enjoy that they found a clever way to teach them to you without outright telling you exactly what to do. The farmer asks us to bring the flower we grew to a nearby strawberry that he admires. And again, this is just a clever way to show the player what the gameplay is going to be like going forward. You'll often find items that need to be delivered to specific NPCs. The strawberry gives us a note to bring back to the farmer, but Turnip Boy of course just rips it up. It also makes me laugh that you can often talk to an NPC after ripping up a document right in their face and get a reaction out of them. I think it's a nice attention to detail that really helps the characters feel a bit more alive. We tell the farmer that the flower's been delivered and are rewarded with a sun hat. Hats are one of the main collectibles of the game, and you can switch between them at will. It's a nice touch to keep the player engaged, and the developers even make some meta jokes about it. In fact, there's a lot of meta humor in this game that we'll see going forward. It doesn't always land, but for the most part it works. After talking with all the NPCs in the starting area, we head up north to the Weapon Woods, where we see our first enemy, vegetarian snails. Which is a great joke since normally hearing that they're vegetarian would be a relief. But we are in fact a vegetable, so, well yeah, you get it. We don't have a weapon yet, so we just sneak right on past them. We find a blueberry who tells us his snail roommate refuses to pay his rent. But again, we don't have any way to deal with the snail, so we just press onward. In the next room we see a carrot lady holding what looks like a stool over her head. She tells us that she's lost her baby and we should keep our eyes peeled for it. Well again, nothing we can do to help at this very moment, so we just keep going. We rip up a wanted poster and dodge a few more snails. And then we enter a very Zelda reminiscent wooded area with another patch to water. And upon doing so we acquire the Soil Sword. Now we can attack. I try it out on all the nearby bushes, but they don't seem to drop anything. Now my complaints about this game are pretty few and far between, but this is a big one for me. Every time you swing the Soil Sword, Turnip Boy stops dead in his tracks. It just doesn't feel very satisfying, and it adds a lot of limitations to the already very limited combat of this game. I don't really understand the design choice here. I think it would have been better if you could just swing the sword willy-nilly and keep walking. Like in Hollow Knight. A lot of idle joy in that game comes from just walking between rooms and whacking all the background junk along the way. And the important part is it doesn't slow you down and impede your progress. It's just a good way to keep you engaged while navigating the terrain. It's not the end of the world though. Enemies are still very satisfying to kill, and they explode with this nice little death cloud. We meet another NPC who asks us for a can of spray paint. But we don't have one, so we'll come back here later. We make our way to the previous room and proceed to kill the blueberry's roommate. And the reaction here just cracks me up. The blueberry is shocked that we jump straight to murder. We then rip a checkup right in his face. So far, I think it's safe to say Turnip Boy is kind of a dick. Back in the main area, we can now use our sword to chop away some bushes and head west to Layer Lane, where there is a lot more NPCs to chat with. It was at this point it started to feel a little overwhelming. There are so many characters to talk to, and mostly all of them have some kind of objective for Turnip Boy. It's just a lot to throw at the player all at once, and I think it would have been better if some of the NPCs made their way over here over the course of the game, instead of all being here at the very start. This is an area that we'll revisit quite often after all. But I go through and I talk to each one of them anyway. We meet a Pepper who runs a sandwich shop, and in a nearby trash can we find a receipt from Mayor Onion that we of course rip up. And finally we reach the barn, or town hall. I talk with some of the construction workers, one of which shows his permit, which we again rip up. We find a trophy with no real purpose in the top right corner. It's just another meta joke about keeping the player engaged by constantly feeding them rewards. But this one's just a bit too on the nose and falls a bit flat for me. We enter the barn and meet the mayor's assistant, who is trying to livestream, but the noise of the nearby pigs is too distracting. So our goal once more is pretty clear: eliminate the pigs. But to get into the rest of the barn, we need to get her a sub from the sandwich guy. The whole thing is a joke about her being a streamer and wanting a tier 3 sub, but gameplay wise it's just walking back and talking to the sandwich dude again, and then walking back and talking to the streamer again. Not super fun, but at least it was a quick task, and after ripping up her autograph, now we can enter the rest of the barn. It's in this room we learn one of the main mechanics of the game: boom blooms. Boom blooms are bombs that grow from leafy green squares. If we water them once, it grows, and watering it a second time activates it. Doing so blows open the boarded up doorway nearby and we can proceed. The next room has a few enemies that we clear out in no time. And upon entering the following room, we find boom boots. These allow us to kick the bombs in one of 4 directions: up, down, left, or right. I feel like they added this as an item just to give the player a bit more dopamine from finding something else to pick up. There's no reason we shouldn't have been able to kick bombs straight away. It's literally just one room away and we gain the ability. We enter the mayor's office and tear up a book on his desk. Turnip Boy is strong. This dude can rip a phone book like it's nothing. The next room gives us an opportunity to try out our new skill. There's a boom bloom in the center, and we kick it to again blast away the boarded up doorways. And in the next room we do the same thing, but instead of a doorway, it's wooden crates, which lets us pick up a key. I feel this room just serves as a clever way to tell the player that some other items are also destructible. With the key in hand, we head back and find a locked door. And now it's time for some of the easiest puzzles I've ever solved. Kick bomb down, kick new bomb to the right. Yay! It's fun, don't get me wrong, it's just not really challenging. The next room we encounter our first pig, which we quickly dispatch with a well-placed bomb, before again following the bomb path and blasting open another doorway. And I brutally murdered a chicken for no reason. A few more rooms with not much going on, and now it's boss time. This piggy got into the fertilizer and has grown substantially. His main, and really only attack, is to just charge in a straight line until crashing into a wall and becoming dazed. I like that this fight gives you some options though. There's boom blooms scattered throughout the room, so you can try to line up a shot and do some serious damage to it. Or if you're feeling ballsy, just whack the pig with your sword. But this fight was over in no time. 3 bombs and down goes the piggy. And our reward? We grow a heart fruit and gain an extra heart, which is neat and pretty standard for any Zelda-like game, though so far the difficulty has been pretty much non-existent, so I didn't really feel like I needed more health. And we also obtain the fertilizer. We navigate our way out of the barn and obtain a crown for our heroic efforts. On the way back to Mayor Onion, I noticed that an alleyway we passed by earlier is no longer blocked off, so we enter and solve another very easy puzzle of just pushing a bomb towards the next bomb over and over until we get another heart. We bring the fertilizer back to the mayor, but we're not off the hook yet. Now we're tasked with finding the 4-pronged spear, also known as a fork. He gives us a lead that we may find what we're looking for in the forsaken farmhouse down south, so we have our next heading. We head downwards to Rocky Ranch, where there is a small class on a field trip. They all talk about an app called Flip Flop, which is an obvious parody of TikTok, and how they like to film dance videos and karaoke to post on the platform. I only mention this because I'm curious to how this will age in 5 to 10 years. I wonder if dancing and singing on TikTok will still be a popular thing, or if we'll look back on it like it's a relic of the old internet. But people still fondly reminisce about Vine, so who knows. One of the field trip patrons tells us that her phone has fallen off the cliff, which we can see but we can't get to. So again, perhaps we'll come back to this later. We make it to the Plain Plains where we speak with an orange who tells us that the snails around are an endangered species. So of course I set about killing each one of them in an attempt to get a reaction, but to my disappointment the orange says the same thing as previously. Seems like a missed opportunity to me. There's a path to the left that is currently blocked off, so we head downwards and meet some carrot people. They talk about a weird little thing they found and threw in the trash. But before attempting to look for it, I trim some nearby bushes and find another receipt to rip up. We search a nearby trash can and find a lost baby carrot. At this point, I just wanted to get into the farmhouse to proceed, but the stairs are broken. The carrot nearby gives an obvious hint that we need to get a stool or something to fill the gap. And this was the only point of this game where I felt genuinely lost on what to do. Remember how earlier I said the sheer amount of NPCs giving tasks to Turnip Boy all at once felt a bit overwhelming? Well, that came back to bite me here. I had totally forgotten about the carrot lady looking for her baby. So it was only after a few minutes of wandering around looking for what to do and backtracking that I remembered her. So we make our way back to the weapon woods and trade a baby carrot for a stool. Yay! We head all the way back, put the stool in place, and proceed into the farmhouse. This place has dark crack house energy, and upon entering the second room they really just toss you into the thick of it. There's a bunch of evil lollipops and a donut that shoots sprinkles at you. They're pretty easy to figure out how to avoid and eliminate. But still, I think if they had placed one of these enemies in the entry room to deal with one-on-one first, it would have made the encounter feel a bit more fair. But we eliminate them all and pick up a face mask. The next room has another boom bloom, which we use to blast open the door on the right. But before venturing in, I decided to check out what lies above. Here we learn a new mechanic. Some plant squares will grow a cubic watermelon upon watering them. These can be used as a makeshift wall to detonate a boom bloom explosion in a controlled location. Thus, we managed to destroy another boarded up wall. But before heading in, I decided to backtrack and see what was in the previous room. Again, we perform a similar task. Grow a watermelon, and use the boom bloom to blow up some nearby crates. And this allows us to obtain a bandage. No clue as of yet why we need these things, but I'm sure it will become clear soon. We head back up, kill an enemy that I didn't realize till much later was a cupcake, and head left. Here we meet a plethora of characters all just chilling in the icebox. Keeps them young, I suppose. The standout character here is the Pickled Gang, an old gangster jailed in a jar, who explains to Turnip Boy that he must have mafioso blood. That will be important later. There's also a few characters that are humorous, and some that just miss the mark and feel a bit forced. We are given a variety of tasks once more. A very forward Nurse Lollipop asks us to bring 3 pieces of medical supplies to her. A young cherry asks us to find her missing baby sister that has been kidnapped by the cupcakes. And lastly, the Cosmic Brownie wants us to get the generator back up and running. Again, a lot of tasks all at once. It can feel a bit overwhelming, but let's just explore some more and see where it takes us. The brownie gave us a key which we used to unlock a door and grab some medicine. That's the 3rd piece of medical supplies we needed, so we head back and give the stuff to the lollipop nurse, where we're given another key. We head back and unlock yet another door in the same location. While this game's world is quite small in scale, the backtracking is becoming a bit tedious. It's just screaming to me that they know how short this game is and are doing everything they can to pad out the playtime. Again, we have quite a few enemies to contend with, but we make quick work of them and continue. In the next room we find another useful item, Move Mittens. Much like the boom boots, these allow us to move the watermelons to wherever we see fit. And very cleverly, they present us with a simple puzzle to show us how to use them before we leave. Now back in the previous room we can try out our newfound ability to avoid the enemies if we wish. Again, I enjoy the freedom of choice here. It's up to the player to decide if they want to engage the enemies again, or just bypass them entirely. Back in the center room, we can now push the cubic watermelon into the gap, making a way for us to go forward, and we use another boom bloom to blast open the bottom doorway. After a quick fight with 2 cupcakes trying to grab on me, we find the missing cherry baby. Another task completed. On the way back, I also find another lovely document to shred. Upon returning the baby to its sister, we are rewarded with, you guessed it, another key. We unlock the last door with it, and again rip up some more paperwork. And it's boss fight time again. This time it's a big old apple kitty that spins and bounces around the room like the iconic screensaver. You can see we have a few locations to grow watermelons, as well as quite a few holes in the floor. When the coast is clear, we can plug up some of the holes to gain access to the center, where we can grow boom blooms. The tricky part is lining up a shot, since the boss likes to spin back and forth on a diagonal line. Otherwise, this boss is easy and honestly pretty boring. The only real challenge here is having to constantly switch back and forth between the sword and the watering can to effectively manage the worms that continuously spawn. The boss does get faster the more you damage it, but otherwise it never changes up its moveset. After a few more well-placed bombs, down goes the kitty. And for our reward, we receive the lost kitten and another heart. And in the next room we find some spray paint and turn the generator back on. Well, that was easy enough. We make our way back to the icebox, and the Cosmic Brownie gives us the fork as our reward. Mission accomplished. We make our way back to the main area to bestow Mayor Onion with the fork, but again, we're not done being his lackey. Now he wants us to find some goop with strange properties over in the Forgotten Forest. The formula has been well established at this point. Receive directive from Mayor Onion, go to the specified area, clear the tasks and navigate the terrain, acquire the item and bring it back to the mayor. This time we're heading back down to the path that was previously blocked. We encounter Annie, who we've met already a few times. I love her character design. I think it's neat that her face is the avocado pit, and the rest of the fleshy fruit takes on the appearance of a backpack. Very clever design. She tells us that this is her home, and that her research facility is in this area. So we continue and kill some more throwaway enemies, before we find a pathway upwards, and acquire the lost phone. The "I changed her password LOL" gave me a good chuckle. We backtrack all the way to Rocky Ramp and return it to its owner. She gives us a petition to save the Flip-Flop app, and of course, as is our tradition, we rip it up. After heading all the way back, we enter a new area. Upon continuing into Annie's research facility, she tells Turnip Boy that the toxic goop is everywhere, and she will give us a key in exchange for information about some mural somewhere. I find another wanted poster to tear up before heading into the pathway upwards. Here we find yet another new game mechanic that was very obviously inspired by Portal. The gist of it is, water one square and a portal will open. Water another square and a second portal will open. Now you can move between them until they fade away. The key thing to note is that whichever direction you enter, you will also come out, and that applies to objects as well. I actually really like this mechanic. It adds a lot more complexity to puzzles that was quite frankly missing before. The puzzles overall are still pretty simple, but this last one did take a few moments of trial and error to figure out. With the rocks blasted away, we can enter the next room. This room has a new enemy, a beautiful stag that charges in a straight line towards Turnip Boy. Pretty easy fight, just step out of the way and then punish. Now we can again move on, and we found the mural. So we head all the way back and trade our doodle of the mural for the key. Now we can head south, and again we have a few more portal puzzles to contend with. I enjoy that they creatively combined a variety of the game's mechanics into one puzzle. This one uses portals, bombs, and melons to accomplish the goal. After navigating the watermelon through all the portals, we push it down into the gap, and then send a bomb through to blow up the rocks. Here we find a lifeless turnip. For some reason this one in particular was not given the gift of sentience. After heading through a short tunnel, it's mini-boss time. I say mini-boss, cause this dude didn't get his own cutscene, and doesn't seem to have a pronounced health bar. But it's just the same fight as previously, just bigger. And I suppose now is a good time to talk about a game mechanic that up to this point I've failed to mention. The X button makes Turnip Boy do a dodge, which in this fight can be helpful for leaping out of the way of the stag's path. I never mentioned this mechanic because up to this point it's pretty much been useless. There haven't been many attacks that enemies have thrown at us that we couldn't simply step out of the way from. And much like my earlier complaints with the sword, doing this dodge move stops your forward progress. There's a brief moment at the end of the dodge where you can't move at all. So in the end your movement speed stays constant, whether you're walking or diving everywhere. We continue and obtain the Potted Petal Portal, which can be used to place portals wherever we would like. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. In the game's own words, use this to spawn a petal portal, singular. I mention this because the only reason I got stuck on this next puzzle was because I was assuming that the game told me the truth, that I could only place one portal with this device. So I was scratching my head going, how in the hell do I get a bomb to come out from over here? And finally, after minutes of frustration and experimentation, I realized that you can actually just place two portals with the thing. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but I feel like that was a huge oversight not to have written, use this to spawn petal portals. I took the game at its word, and I suffered the consequences. Some more careful wording would have gone a long way. But we make it through, and back to Annie, where we exchanged the lifeless turnip for another key. Then with our newfound portal skill, we can make it through the fence, and proceed to the left side of the map. It's here we discover a bunch of acorns that are certainly worse for wear. It seems this goop has given them sentience and they are still pretty confused about being alive. We then head through a short tunnel and it's boss fight time. And it's the stag again? That's a bit disappointing. At least there's some escalation here. There's smaller enemies that spawn to keep you on your toes, and the stag occasionally shoots green laser balls that you have to dodge. There's petal portals scattered on the main area that I assume are intended to be used to dodge the stag, but he's so slow that they're entirely unnecessary. Again, I went about this the same way as the previous fights, and tried to hit the boss with the bombs, but I got bored with that and just took him on the old-fashioned way. I get that they wanted to implement the main mechanic of this section, the portals, into the fight, but it could have been done so much better. If anything, I think actually using the portals would have slowed down the fight. Well, down he goes. Another boss eliminated, and another heart container for Turnip Boy. And hey, we found the green goop we were looking for. Now Turnip Boy emits a strange green glow around him, and it doesn't seem to matter. Everyone that says something about it is just like, wow, everything around you seems to be coming alive. But I never remember seeing this actually happen. We talk to an acorn that yearns to own property, and gives us a leaf as payment. I also stop by and solve a quick puzzle for another heart on the way back. We stop and see the mayor and deliver him the green goop. And of course, once again he asks us to find another item. This time it's a laser pointer. He says he sent his IRS agents to investigate the strange hatch in the Weapon Woods, so I guess that's where we're heading. But before we do, I stop by and see a realtor, who begrudgingly accepts a leaf as payment for a deed to some land. And for some reason that seems inconsistent, Turnip Boy doesn't immediately rip it up. Instead, we trek back and give it to the acorn, and then we rip it up. Like I said, Turnip Boy is a bit of a dick. I guess he wanted to wait and do it in front of the acorn's face. After making our way to the hatch, the IRS agents explain that it's locked tight, and the only person that can help us is Tot, who hangs out by the cemetery. So time to head back, but not before stopping by to give the graffiti guy a can of spray paint in exchange for another heart. After reaching Tot, he explains that he'll help get the hatch open if we help him with some grave robbing. It's here we learn that we can use our sword to dig up graves to refill our hearts, but this can also piss off some of the local ghosts, which aren't hard to kill, but it's a bit of combative fun. This place is a maze, and reminds me quite a bit of the Forever Forest from Paper Mario. Each area you enter contains clues that will lead you to the correct way forward, but if you screw up, it's back to the entrance. Most of the riddles you're given are pretty straightforward, so progress is pretty easy to make. We stop by to rip up a note left on someone's grave. There's one room that requires navigating melons using portals. Pretty simple. But the next room I find to be rather annoying. You have 6 pumpkins that you can talk to, and they all tell you what direction you should head, and that someone near them is lying or telling the truth. So I tried to use logic as best I could, and determined that I should go south, based on the fact that most of the pumpkins say the one telling the truth says to go south. Well, somehow that was not the right answer, so all the way back through we go, and I talked to each pumpkin again, trying to figure out this game's reasoning for which one could actually be telling the truth. There doesn't seem to be any real logic here as far as I can tell, so I just said screw it and brute forced my way through the puzzle. There's only really 2 directions it could be anyway, and it was north. If someone can give me an actual explanation of how this puzzle is supposed to work, I'd be grateful, but honestly just trying each direction until you find the right one seems to be the best approach. Well, we made it. Tot has us dig up the targeted grave, revealing a golden shovel. He gives us his old one that we can now have as our main weapon, and also to get the hatch open. Upon talking to Tots again, he gives us a letter to his father, so we trek all the way back to the icebox to give it to Pops. Seems strange to me. Pops looks middle-aged for sure, but Tots looks like a haggard old man. So them being father and son is a bit jarring, just based solely on character design. And Pops gives us another letter for Tots, so back we go again, all the way across the map and through the graveyard once more. In exchange for our good deed, we receive a bird hat. Woo! Now we can finally head back and crack that hatch open. And we've entered a bomb bunker, where silhouetted humans seem to run in fear from us. After taking out a few cans of baked beans, we find some hair dye. I know who's looking for that, but we'll finish exploring here first. And again I find myself stuck. The only other direction we can go is blocked by crates, and there's a bomb in the center that seems to be out of reach. So I meander around for a bit, and find another document to rip up, and then I investigate the refrigerator and find another new item. A slice of pizza that can be used to infinitely regenerate our health. The drawback of this item is that it's just very slow. I head back to the room where we were previously stuck, and try out the trusty watering can. There we go. But wait, why did that bomb catch everything on fire? That's not a bomb at all. It's a fire symbol. I really think they should have differentiated between them quite a bit more. The difference between the bomb and the flame is a matter of just a few pixels. Perhaps making the fire symbol have an orange hue to it would have been a good idea. But nonetheless, we continue into the room on the right where we find another document to shred. This one is a news article talking about bombs being dropped, and the picture is becoming clearer. We're in the real world, it's just the post-apocalypse, and for some reason, vegetables and plants have become sentient. We solve a simple puzzle to get the key, and continue upwards. The humans continue to run from us, and we encounter a very unique enemy. It's a hunk of meat that hypnotizes us and inverts the controls, which is pretty damn cool. I wish they implemented more enemy design like this one. It catches you off guard the first time and makes you think on your feet to quickly dispatch it and return to normal. To enter the next room, you need to burn the doorway down, and to do that, you can either light yourself on fire and run into it, or put a melon in the way and chain the fire to it, which makes no sense really. I've never personally tried to light a watermelon on fire, but the name to me implies that it's not going to work. And by the way, you'll take damage either way, because for some reason the flame just jumps onto you. In the next room we tear up a diary page, and then burn some crates to acquire the hazmat suit. This shields Turnip Boy from taking fire damage. Now we've got to make it through a few more puzzles using fire. The first one is straightforward. Just burn the crates and clog the hole with a melon. And the next one just requires you to set yourself aflame and quickly run to burn the far doorway. It would have been cool if the doorway was a bit further, and you needed to make use of your portals to make it there in time. After heading through the next hallway, it's once again boss time. This is the worst part of the game by far. The difficulty spike here is insane. We are fighting the mutated human Liz, and she doesn't play games. She's got 4 moves, which is twice as many as any other boss thus far. She can reach out her skinny arm to try and grab and pull you in. She can bring out her strong hand to pound the ground with an area of effect. She can puke a puddle of toxic slime around herself, and she can bash you in the face with a lead pipe. The problem with this fight is that it seems like no matter how you go about it or what you try to do, you're just constantly eating tons of damage, and before you even realize what's what, you're dead or very close to it. The intended method to win is to light her on fire. The only way to do so is to light yourself on fire and try to get close enough to her that she also catches on fire. But that's easier said than done. I died here over and over and over again. It was the only time I considered this game to be at all challenging, but unfortunately it was for all the wrong reasons. On about my 7th or 8th try, I noticed something strange. This boss just passively takes damage on its own, which makes no sense to me, but all the same, I'll take it. So I decided to just take things a lot slower and just wait for the boss to end things by herself. And down she goes. That was not a fun fight in the slightest. The difficulty spike is insanely jarring. Definitely a low point, which is a real shame because I feel like this would have been a fun fight if they balanced it more and worked out some of the kinks. But all the same, we did it, and we have acquired yet another heart, as well as the laser pointer. We backtrack all the way to the main area, and give the laser pointer to Mayor Onion. And it's plot twist time. Mayor Onion is a swindler, and he says he will not give Turnip Boy his land back. He proceeds to hide inside of it. With no way in, we talk to Old Man Lemon, who hits us with a startling revelation. Mayor Onion, Old Man Lemon, and Turnip Boy's very own father used to run in the same crime family, but things fell apart when Mayor Onion got too greedy and wanted to tax everyone, and he may or may not have killed Turnip Boy's father. A shocking twist. Old Man Lemon shows us the secret passage into the greenhouse, so we head on down to confront Mayor Onion once and for all. We enter a room and find another book to rip up. And hey, the thing I said earlier came to fruition. This time, to carry the flame far enough to burn through the doorway, we need to use our portals. I very much appreciate the escalation and the use of the mechanics here. The next room is another puzzle. This one I assume intends for the player to use a melon as a wall to blast away the rocks, and then light Turnip Boy on fire and carry the flame through the doorway using portals. However, I ended up foregoing the flame entirely, and just used portals and bombs to blast the door. Again, very clever design with multiple solutions for the same problem. I love it. I wish we saw a bit more of this complexity throughout the earlier game. And again we face one more room that cleverly combines all the mechanics we've learned throughout the game to navigate a melon through portals and into a gap. And after making it through, we head down a hallway to the final boss. Well, Mayor Onion, your time has come. This fight I actually really love. Mayor Onion starts off by having his IRS cronies attack you, but they're no worse than any other standard enemy. It's just a bit of a fun warm-up pounding them into the dirt. And now it's time to fight Mayor Onion. Much like the fight with the mutant human Liz, Mayor Onion has several different moves, but unlike Liz, these are all well designed and fun to deal with. And a detail that is obvious but still very cool is that all of his moves are powered by the items that we've brought him throughout the game. He can fork stab, he can shoot a big laser with the laser pointer, he can puke a puddle of green slime around himself, and though it's not really a move, he used the fertilizer to grow much larger. The key is to learn his moves and know which one he's going to use. Both the laser and the fork stab can be easily dodged, and the puke puddle just needs to be avoided entirely. So the object is simple. Wait for him to attack, and then punish. It's not overly complicated or the greatest fight ever, but it's fun. It's well designed, and it's satisfying. And just like that, down goes Mayor Onion. Turnip Boy has avenged his father. But as you saw, Mayor Onion claims his government will live on through the documents that we missed. But hey, technically we just beat the game. We get the deed to our greenhouse, and of course proceed to rip it up. And it's credits time. But wait, we're not done yet. I want to see this game through to completion. So after sitting through the credits, we hop back into the game to get those pesky documents that we missed. And there's only 4 that we missed throughout. That's not too bad, really. So let's scoop them up. First one is back in the mafioso bunker down in the basement. We find a book written by Mayor Onion, RIP. Second one is also in the mafioso bunker, and it's a heartfelt letter from Turnip Boy's father, RIP. Third one we missed way back towards the start. We bring the cat apple lady back her apple kitty, and in return she shares with us her artwork, RIP. And lastly, all we needed to do was again talk to the sandwich man. He gives us a copy of Fast Book so we can do our taxes, RIP. That's all the missing documents now collected. So once again we head down to the bunker and give Mayor Onion another beatdown. Easy. But this time things escalate further. Mayor Onion sets off a nuke and somehow that lands us on the moon. And it's phase 2 time. I also love this part. It's a very clever spin on the mechanics. Instead of fighting Mayor Onion one-on-one, we need to navigate the terrain here, solving puzzles and eventually launching his IRS agents straight into him. It's very smartly designed and implements everything you've learned throughout the game. So we make our way through the gauntlet, and eventually the last of his IRS agents begrudgingly is launched into him. Mayor Onion goes down once and for all, and we get the true ending. We did it! We again sit through the credits, but I'm still not quite done here. We're very close to 100% completion, so we might as well go for it. Now that the game has ended, a new cave is available to us. Within it is a mystical cat that gives us some pretty ham-fisted hints on things we missed along the way. Mainly hats at this point, so we trek back and forth across the land a few more times, completing fetch quests and talking with NPCs, and boom, all hats have been collected. And upon revisiting the mystical kitty, another heart fruit waits for us. Just need to revisit the location of the pickled gang for the final one. And boom, all hearts collected. There's only one thing left to do now. We head back up to Layer Lane to check out the optional game mode Limitless Line. Basically you get on this here train and fight enemies in room after room. It's sort of like a watered down version of something like Binding of Isaac. You get special items that buff certain stats throughout the journey. And every few rooms you clear leads to a boss fight, all ones we face throughout the game. But it's interesting to see how much stronger we've become. And unfortunately, I did not beat the main boss, the conductor, on my first try. But I did get another trophy upon death. So let's try again. This time we managed to take him out. It's a pretty fun fight, and is reminiscent of the Mayor Onion Phase 1 fight, except he's smaller and quicker. But the reason they call it the Limitless Line is because you can just keep going and going, with the difficulty escalating each time around. It's a pretty fun mode, though honestly it does get boring pretty quickly. However, we make it through a bit further and encounter a secret boss. It's an evil version of Turnip Boy, who dies in a matter of seconds. But hey, they gave us our final trophy, and we have officially 100% completed and gained the Platinum Trophy for Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. The only thing we can really do now is spend the tickets we've gained from the Limitless Line on more unique hats. But honestly, that's not quite enough to keep me playing this mode. So partway through editing, I realized we didn't actually have the last trophy. So I had to go back into the bunker and blow up a nuke, killing everyone and ourselves. And that's officially the last trophy earned, and our platinum. And that's it. That's everything there is to see in Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. And yeah, like I said at the start, it's a lot of fun. It's not going to blow your mind with anything incredibly innovative. Everything in this game has been done before. But what this game does, it mostly does well. They introduce game mechanics and cleverly show you how to use them each time, without just shoving dialogue or tutorials down your throat. And then throughout the game, they proceed to combine what you've learned into more and more complex puzzles. There were a few moments where I was stumped, but overall this game is not very hard. It's something that you could pick up and play on a rainy day, and complete it all in one sitting. In fact, my entire playtime to 100% completion was just under 3 hours. There are definitely some low moments. The boss fight with mutant human Liz definitely stands out as something that needed a lot more refinement. Overall, it's definitely a game worth playing at least once, but for the amount of content you get, I do think the $15 price tag is a little steep. This is a $10 game for sure. You could make an argument that the Limitless Line gives a lot of replayability, but I just don't think that it does. The only reward is just more hats, and that's really not worth it in my opinion. Especially since that mode only opens up at the end of the game, so there's pretty much already nothing left to do by that point. Snoozy Kazoo is fast at work developing a sequel, and I'm very excited to see what they come up with. Turnip Boy is an interesting character, and the world they've created is unique and fun. I just hope a sequel has a bit more to offer. I hate to be harsh considering they're a small indie team, but I don't think this game would have been on anybody's radar had it not been for the provocative title and quirky storyline. But that's really just a testament to the fact that this game was obviously created by some very clever folks that know how to market a title. Again, it's not that the game is bad. In fact, I very much enjoyed my time with it. It's just that there's not that much that's all that special about it. But I wish the team the best with their future endeavors, and I can't wait to play the next one. I thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like and comment, tell me what you think and all that kind of stuff. It really helps me out. I'll be working on more game critiques and other game-related content, so if that's your kind of thing, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I'll see ya.